Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibs07 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 vlog here today. In this video, I'm going to be talking about this week's update and patch notes, and going over the new spells that were released and stuff like that. So yeah, sorry this video is coming out one day late. Some of you might see my community post. I was a bit lazy and didn't do the pre-requirements for the new quest before it came out. So yesterday I did the Battle of the Monolith and the Azanadra's quest to, get those done and be able to do this new quest, City of Senntisten, which I just did this morning. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about here today. But Battle of the Monolith and Azanadra's quest, honestly, super boring. Azanadra's quest literally just running around talking to a bunch of different people. It's probably like a pretty, lore intensive quest, but I'm not really big into the lore a whole lot, so didn't really feel like reading all of that, and just ended up being pretty boring, running around a lot. And I don't really think like a quest needs to have combat necessarily, but there wasn't even like any like cool puzzles or anything like that in the quest. It was just talking, literally, basically the whole quest. So either way, let's go ahead and get into what I think about the new quest, or just like talk about it a little bit. So the City of Senntisten quest was just released yesterday, and the requirements for it are 75 Slayer, 74 Archaeology, 74 Magic, and the completion of Azanadra's quest and the Battle of the Monolith. So not too bad of requirements. The 75 Slayer is actually because you have to kill some gargoyles during the quest, which I thought was kind of funny and random. So that is, that's what justifies that requirement. But yeah, the quest isn't really too long. I think it was definitely shorter than the Azanadra's quest for me. And I enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. I thought it was a pretty good quest. Pretty decent variety of, just talking to people with lore and BS. And then there was, a pretty decent puzzle with the blood bank stuff in there. And then, decent combat, killing those 4 gargoyle guardians, and then the sort of mini boss vampire guy at the blood bank. I thought there were all some pretty decent things in there, and I kind of enjoyed moving about the city, sort of that darkness, damage, oppressiveness thing. It wasn't really too difficult to avoid that, especially with bladed dive and double surge. Thankfully, you were able to bladed dive and surge around in this quest area, which is something that has not been the case in the past. A lot of the time they'll prevent you from, doing that in quest areas, which is very annoying. And I'm glad to see that they prevented that from happening, or, avoided that situation, because it was definitely useful for this quest in particular. But I think the fact that you could just pick up the light globe that you were using and then just put it down at another spot and just continue doing that, and you'd only ever get 1 or 2 stacks of the darkness on you at a time if you were doing it that way. It made it pretty easy. And then, of course, the run back to the cathedral from the shadow ward location was a bit scary. I guess you start taking quite big amounts of damage. I guess for those who haven't done the quest, you're running around it's a pretty big city area where you have to go and find these wards to help, just to give them to Azanadra for something. And basically there's like a darkness, or I think the debuff that shows up on your bar is called like Shadow of the Empire or something. And that will stack up as long as you are not like in an area around a pedestal with a light globe in it. And as it stacks up, you start taking more and more damage. It starts out really low, like 100, then like 300, but it pretty quickly gets up really high. So like if you're at like 5 or 6 stacks, you're taking like 2k, 3k every, it's every couple of seconds or so that the damage will tick, and you'll get an extra stack. And so you could definitely die pretty easily and pretty quickly in there if you're not paying attention and you're not, sticking with your light globes. But if you just take 1 light globe with you and you pick it up and run to the next pedestal and put it down, you'll never get more than 2 or 3 stacks, I would think. So, but I thought it was a pretty cool mechanic. I just thought that it could have definitely been better displayed. Like, it doesn't look like it's dark down there. At least it didn't for me based on my settings. I don't have any like skybox or filters on. But it definitely didn't look dark down there at all. And I guess maybe it wasn't supposed to be darkness that was necessarily hurting you. I'm not sure exactly what it was. because I didn't, it probably explains to you in the lore somewhere, but I wish there was a better visual indicator of where where the light globes were actually protecting and what they're protecting from, because it was kind of vague, like where the radius of the light globe pedestals was and, how far away you could get before you started taking stacks. But either way, I thought it was a good quest in general. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And I don't know if they talked about it before, but I didn't see anything about these new ancient magic spells that were coming out as a result of this quest. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about those now, and a couple of them are pretty freaking OP. Unfortunately, this does not make magic really much better, if at all. It does make it a little better, but not much better, not enough whatsoever to be worth using over range or melee. Because range and melee also got a pretty big buff with this update because of one of these spells. It's similar to Vuln, and that's the one I'll go over here first. It's called Smoke Cloud, and this one requires level 74 magic and will cost you 10 air, 5 chaos, 5 blood, and 5 soul runes. So a pretty hefty cost. I think it's like 20k per cast or something right now, which is quite a lot. But as you can read, it will increase the target's damage received from critical strikes by 15%. And of course, there is a cap to that. But also the damage cap against the target when landing a critical strike is increased by 12%. So that is, a similar effect to what the Grimoire has, which allows you to get your crit cap up to 15k. So if you have, if you have the Grimoire on, and the target is affected by Smoke Cloud, you can hit 16.8k crits, which is absolutely crazy. That's so much damage. And just a really, really big hit. It's going to be on those Ruby Bolt procs, and when you're doing your Zerk rotations and stuff, it's a pretty crazy buff to all styles, really, having this Smoke Cloud ability or spell alongside the Grimoire. And even if you don't have the Grimoire, the damage cap increased by 12%. Let me just calc. Normally it's 12,000, so times point. Whoops. Normally it is 12,000 times 0.12. You get 1440. So it would be 13.4k. So even without the Grimoire, it's still a pretty big increase. The Grimoire only makes it go up by like another 400 or so, but then of course also adds the 3,000 from the Grimoire itself. So yeah, not as strong as Grimoire, about half as much additional damage from the base, but still really, really strong and definitely gonna be used pretty much everywhere. And the best part about it is, I would say, is it lasts for 2 minutes instead of vulnerability's 1 minute, which means you can use it every time with Ingenuity of Humans, which lasts or has a cooldown of 90 seconds. You couldn't do that with Vuln, but now of course we do have Vuln bombs, which completely removes that as an issue. I wonder if they're gonna make bombs for the Smoke Cloud spell. We'll have to see about that, but you can have both of these on the target at once as well. So I'll show you. It's like kind of like a little smoke puff when you use it. Actually, I wonder, is that what smoke spells look like? Or smoke? I wonder if that's what Smoke Barrage looks like. I've never actually used Smoke Barrage. No, it's not. So it's a different animation, and I assume you can like refresh it, as I'm going to waste my runes. But yeah, so you can do that, and you can have a Vuln Bomb on your target at the same time. As you can see, it has vulnerability, and it has Smoke Cloud on it. So yeah, basically just a pretty big buff to damage, because also the 12% or no 15% increased critical strike damage. You don't always hit that max cap, so when you don't hit that, you're going to be getting additional damage from it as well. So pretty crazy new spell, definitely worth using for every style. And like I said, you can use it with Ingenuity of the Humans every time you need to apply it, so you don't need to worry about if you're using mage or if you're using range or melee. All you need is a wand switch, and you can use that to apply it with Ingenuity of Humans. So pretty OP new spell for sure, but obviously doesn't affect magic's standing at all because you can be used with all styles. Next up at level 84 magic is the Animate Dead spell, and this is an interesting one for sure. It's basically a tank spell, and it lasts for 12 minutes, which is a really long time for just a random spell to be lasting. But basically you gain 10% of for each piece of magic tank equipment you are wearing, you'll gain 10% of its armor value as flat damage reduction, and you'll gain 33% of your defense level as flat damage reduction. So let me see if I can, I think I have Acto on this preset where I'm doing my bonfiring. So you can see the armor values of my Acto here, 491. I'll just add them up. So sorry for the typing, but 491 plus 565 plus 540 plus 122 and 122 for the boots as well. I'm not sure if that will count your shield as well or not. Let's say it does count the shield, because I mean the shield is a tank item, but maybe it won't. I'm not sure. It's up in the air, but if it does count your shield, that's a total of 2331 armor rating. And then you can add in your, so it'll take 10% of that, so times 0.1, that'll be 233 plus 33% of your defense level, so at 99, that will just be like 33. And that will end with an end result of 266.1 flat damage reduction. So that means every single hit that you would take would be reduced by 266 damage, but it cannot reduce the damage by more than 75%. So if you take a hit that's less than 266 damage, it won't be 0. It'll be, much less than 0. But let me see. At most, this would be able to reduce it by about 200 damage based on my calculation. So it's not that strong really, because that's not a lot of damage reduction. But, it's definitely a powerful effect. And it'll be interesting to see if, some sort of different tank armor is released at some point. I mean, the fact that it lasts 12 minutes is crazy. So, let me see. I use it now. Let's see the animation, too. Wow, that's a cool animation. I like that a lot. Oh, it's more than I thought. 431? Did I do my math wrong? I'm not sure where I went wrong on my math, because it said 10% of its armor value as flat damage reduction and 33% of your defense level. Yeah. So I don't know where I went wrong on that, but that's that's almost double what I said, so even better than I thought. But I'm kind of just confused. I assume that's what that means, is the amount of reduction it is. And then the important thing, can I switch my gear? You can switch your gear. So you can use this before any boss. I mean, no boss takes more than 12 minutes, except, I guess, hard mode Virago. But still, you can use this for any before any boss with your tank armor on, and then switch to your power gear. Oh, no, wait, it did change. Oh, snap. So it does actually retroactively change. So it gives me 82, which I guess is from the shield. So it must count the shield, because none of this else is tank armor. I'm just really confused as to how it gives you so much. So it's not like, just a universal always use, because it doesn't, it actually updates when you switch your armor, which I was kind of expecting it not to do, but it actually does. Let me just do this math one more time. My apologies. We're doing some live research here, doing some testing. Let's check. 565, 540. I mean, I definitely added it up right. So it's 1840 armor, and then if you add the shield, it's 491, which is 2331, and then you take 10% of that. I mean, it's not even if you add my whole defense level, it's not 431. Let me see if it says. Oops, that's my tool belt. Here we go. Maybe it'll say in here something about my armor rating, and I just have it wrong. Total armor 3611. Skill bonus? What? I mean, that's my total armor, but this doesn't count as a tank item. So these I would all consider counting. So let me see if I take that number, 3567 times 0.1 plus. Even then, it's only 390. If I add that on, no, that wouldn't even make that big of a difference. So I'm not sure exactly how this calculation is working out, but it gives me more than I would expect, even if it's counting in this passive armor I get from, I guess, my defense level is what gives me that 12/12 skill bonus. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly why it's higher than I would expect. 2355 is a little bit higher than I even calculated when adding all of these up. So I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments where I'm going wrong here. Maybe there's something I'm not understanding properly, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm just not getting about the spell, but it's better than I thought, but still not great, because where do you really wear tank armor? I mean, I'd probably use this at, base tanking raids if I were going with a learner team or whatever. You could always whip out the Acto for that, or like on my hardcore. It'd be good to have if I'm, doing a tank roll somewhere. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting concept for a spell, and I'd be interested to see if it is ever useful at some point. Something to always keep in the back of your mind if there's ever a lot of damage incoming, or, maybe on the day of release of a new boss, you want to try and use this to get through the kill easier and learn the mechanics while you're there. So a cool one, not that useful at the moment, but definitely interesting, and lasts for 12 minutes, which is a long time. Although it does have a hefty rune cost, which I don't think I went over. It costs 30 earth, 15 death and blood, and 6 soul. So quite an expensive spell that. Let me see what it says here on the wiki. That costs about 33k per cast. But again, 12-minute duration, it's pretty long. So yeah, let's pull back out the Virago preset, which is what I was using for the demo of the other spells. And now the last two spells are basically upgraded Ice Barrage and Blood Barrage, kind of. They're not actually AoE, or not from their base, but the first one is called Exsanguinate, which is level 96 magic and requires 5 fire, 1 death, and 3 blood, which is up. It adds in the death and an additional blood rune compared to Blood Barrage, so quite a decent bit more expensive. Actually, sorry if you can hear all this noise. 1 second. All right, sorry about that, guys. My cat was attacking the laundry basket, making a bit of noise there. But anyways, yeah, that is Exsanguinate's rune cost, as you can see, and it does have quite a few different effects that it has. And basically, every time you cast an ability, you will gain a stack of Blood Tithe, which will last for 20 seconds if you don't cast any more abilities using the spell. And each stack of Blood Tithe increases basic ability damage by 1%. So at max stacks, your basic ability damage is increased by 12%. And also at 12 stacks, your rack ability will transform. And if you didn't notice, they actually updated the icon for the regular rack as well. It looks a little different now, but let me stack it up here. And something that's important to note is it is ability only. So if you watch here, I have 5, and then I do a 4-tick Sonic Wave, and I only go up to 6. So it's not you're not going to get additional stacks from 4-ticking, but you do get more than 1 stack for a channeled ability. So watch, if I use Concentrated Blast, 1, 2, 3 stacks just from that. So it is definitely interesting to consider. If at some point, I mean, I know this doesn't make magic worth using or anything, but it'll be interesting to consider if at some point it would be worth using Concentrated Blast for, the full effect to get that 3rd stack out of it. I don't know, probably not, but it's just something to think about. And now you can see my rack icon has been updated. It's now called Rack and Ruin, and it increases the damage by quite a lot. It still has the extra damage if the target is bound or stunned, but the base damage of it is quite high. And let me just use an ability so I don't lose my stacks. And it'll also extend the duration of the next combust cast by 2 hits. However, it does consume all your stacks. So your 12%, who is like just randomly casting Godbow specs over here? All of your stacks of like, your basic ability boosting thing is are going to be taken away when you use it. So it's probably not worth using, considering it doesn't give you a whole lot of benefit. The damage isn't that massive, and having an extended combust by 2 hits isn't going to be a game changer. But it actually has a pretty cool new animation, so I'll show that now. You can see I cast it, does this little blood whole situation, and then You can see the counter counting down here. Extends this combust by 2 hits, so it'll last for, let's count, 1, 2, 3. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 hits on the combust. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this ability. So let me go ahead and there was actually an animation that I didn't know about before that shows up when you finish stacking it. So let's watch here. When I use my dragon breath, I'll get a little circle above my head, a little blood ball, to notify me that I am fully stacked on it. So yeah, definitely a strong one. And this will be like the one, oh, you do get 1 stack for using the rack as well, but this would definitely be the one that you'd want to use as your main spell, for sure, because it is by far the, wait a minute, is it using, oh my god, it uses the runes every time you gain a stack. That is brutal. So if you're stacked out, does it still use the runes? No, it doesn't. So that makes it almost definitely not worth ever using Rack and Ruin. That would just tank your money so fast. Because let me see the wiki. That's 3k per cast. So every time you go to max stacks, it's what, 36k. So every time you use Rack and Ruin, it basically will cost you 36k. No shot is that ever going to be worth it in your entire life. That's insane. They should probably change that. I don't know. That's really crazy. Maybe they could make it so that whenever you cast the actual Rack and Ruin ability, it uses the spell, the runes of the spell. But as it is now, Jesus Christ, that is like ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, that's Exsanguinate. Would definitely be the one you want to camp because you want to keep these stacks at max, get that plus 12% basic ability damage, which is going to help you out pretty nicely. But overall, not going to change the game of Magic or of combat, make Magic good again. And then the last one is called Insight Fear. It's basically the Exsanguinate equivalent for water spells, or like. It's not exactly the equivalent because it is it's got completely different effects, but it's an upgraded version of Ice Brush. But it's important to note that these are not AoE autos by default, so definitely important to note that. But for this one, let's put this on my bar so I can foretake it if I want. Basically, this one only has the same sort of stacking system, gives you Glacial Embrace stacks up to 5. And each stack of Glacial Embrace will reduce the adrenaline cost of Tsunami by 12%. So at max stacks, it'll decrease the adrenaline cost of Tsunami by 60%, making it cost 40% adrenaline, apparently. So let's see actually how this works. Why do I still have Rack and Ruin? Is that still going to go off? So if you lose your Exsanguinate stacks, you still keep Rack and Ruin until you use it. I guess that's an interesting interaction that I wouldn't have expected. But yeah, so we're at 5 stacks here, and I can use Tsunami right now. I can use it. Yeah, it lets me use it. I actually gained adrenaline for using it. So the way I would think it would work is, since these stacks last for, okay, I'm gonna waste my money here, but let's go ahead and stack up Exsanguinate. So we have 12 stacks of it by wasting. I can't believe it makes you use the runes every time. That's actually crazy. So we have our 20 stacks of, or not 20, our 12 stacks of Exsanguinate, and I guess my Tsunami is going to be on cooldown here. But then what you would want to do, probably, I would assume, is then switch over to Insight Fear every now and again to stack that up to 5. As you can see, I'm up to 5 stacks now. Switch back to Exsanguinate, keep the stacks going on that, and then I can like use Tsunami with a cheaper cost, and that would definitely make it worth using as part of like your normal rotation, especially because it has such a long cooldown. It's 200 to 300% ability damage, which is quite good, and it gives you this crit bonus where you get extra adrenaline plus 10% adrenaline on crit. So yeah, I think it'll definitely be worth doing that if Magic ever, of course, becomes relevant again, which is up in the air. We'll see if anything with God Wars 3 comes out with it. But yeah, that would kind of be annoying having to switch back and forth, but it would definitely be worth it in terms of DPS because of that critical strike generating extra adrenaline. And 200 to 300% ability damage is not a bad ability. I mean, it's pretty decent. It's better than your worst wild magic hits. I mean, it's almost as good as your best wild magic hits at the high end. So, or not quite. I was reading it wrong a little bit there, but I didn't realize the second hit of wild magic had a higher top end. But still, definitely I would think worth using in your rotation somewhere, especially because, again, I've said it multiple times, but that extra 30 seconds of 10% adrenaline for crit strikes. So you can basically have 50% uptime on that, because it's a 1 minute cooldown on the ability. And so for 30 seconds of that cooldown, you'll have the buff. And then when it's back up off cooldown, you can use it again and have it again for 30 seconds. So on for 30, off for 30, pretty decent, it seems to me. But there's actually an additional effect to Insight Fear, which I didn't mention yet. While you're at 5 stacks, every 12 seconds, there'll be a cooldown on this of 12 seconds. But every 12 seconds, you'll get this AoE. So you just saw that pop off right there. What is it called? They have it called Frost Surge. So every 12 seconds, you can see the abilities on cooldown right now. So now on my next ability, I'll get this Frost Surge AoE. And that will deal 10 to 50% ability damage to the primary target and up to 8 adjacent enemies in a 5x5 area. So a decent thing to have for like Slayer, or wherever you're fighting a lot of things at once. Pretty big AoE on that, but the damage is really pretty low, only 10 to 50% ability damage. But still a pretty cool looking effect. Nothing that's going to change. Excuse me. Nothing that's going to change the meta or anything like that. But yeah, those are the 4 new spells. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I mean, they've got some pretty cool ideas in there. But if they were thinking that this was going to change anything in terms of the meta of combat, then they're dead wrong. Especially because of the smoke cloud inclusion. I mean, obviously being usable by all styles and just going to help out a ton with range. And those Ruby Bolt procs of 16.8k are going to go crazy. So, yeah. And then, of course, I mean, Greater Ricochet can't be these spells don't hold a candle to Greater Ricochet, not even remotely. So yeah, but I wonder something. I kind of wonder, and I mean, it's obviously, well, I mean, honestly, I don't know, depending on how sweaty people can possibly get. But I wonder if having 12 stacks of Exsanguinate will increase your ability damage for other styles. I guess I could test it. Let me test this really quick for you guys here. So if I use a Decimate right now at max hit mode, it does 2350. Let me make sure it's the same. Let me not mess with anything. Use it again. Why did it change? I don't understand. Yeah, that's accuracy. Let me use it again. It just keeps going up. What's happening? I thought I said it. Oh, there's already a dummy nearby that has been toggled to max hit mode. I didn't read. That must be it. 2375. Let me do it again, just to be sure. 2375. Okay, so 2375 is my max hit with it at the moment, and I'm just going to use a couple just to get that, just to give a couple stacks. And now let me use it. 3274. What? Hold on, let me do it. Let me use again. 3275. Okay, so no. I just knew the number was different. I had already forgotten the actual number, but I think it was just like a rounding difference. So yeah, Exsanguinate stacks only apply to mage. So thank God, to be honest, because imagine having to like just switch back to a mage quickly to use an Exsanguinate to get keep your stacks up, so you can have 12% additional damage on like your Greater Ricochet. That would be so stupid. Switchscape, like an insane amount. So I wonder, something I do wonder, I guess I can't test it on the dummies exactly, but I wonder if you get a stack if your ability hits a 0. That would be something to wonder about. But I'm gonna stop with my testing for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something out of this whole testing session. I thought it was pretty interesting. These new spells, always cool to see and test them out. Overall, I think they're pretty cool. I like the idea behind them. I think the fact that you use runes every stack is criminal, to be honest. That is just going to ruin your bank if you ever want to do that. I mean, I don't know. I guess range with the criminal bolts is maybe comparable, but that just seems so crazy. Like if they ever wanted you to use that rack and ruin ability, then they need to change that for sure. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Have you completed the quest yet? If so, what do you think of these new spells? Or, I mean, even if you haven't completed it, what do you think of the new spells? I think I'll make a separate video. I thought I was going to talk about it in this video, but I ended up getting caught up with all the spells and the testing and stuff. I think I'll make a separate video talking about the God Wars 3 like release reveal and how they're going to be doing it in batches. I won't get into that here. I'll talk about that in a separate video later this week. And yeah. That's I guess that'll be the plan. So you guys can look forward to that at some point, and I will see you in that next video. Do leave your thoughts in the comments. Peace out.